Hi, I'm Erica, host of Powered by Joy podcast, and I just want to welcome you here. Today, we're going to be talking about your inner child. So, that's something you probably hear a lot about, and your inner child's wounds and pains and the healing that you need to do. And that is all true and needed and necessary. And I'll touch on it very briefly, but I actually want to focus on the other side. And that is the side of the joy and the pleasure that your inner child seeks on a regular daily basis. And thinking back to how you did that when you were younger. So, this podcast is all about people that feel stuck, frustrated, angry, maybe helpless to make change in their lives. And we're here talking about how to feel alive again, how to feel joy in your life, hopefully daily. And if you haven't felt that before, or you just want to bring it back into your life, we're just going to explore how to do that without sacrificing our commitment to our family and friends. So, welcome. And today, again, like I said, we'll be jumping into what I'm going to hope is one of my shorter podcasts. We'll see. I end up talking and not paying attention to how long I'm talking. So, anyways, inner child. So when we think about um, our childhood, everybody has very different experiences. And I would say that I hear quite often of people that don't remember a lot about big chunks of years. And it's known that's usually caused from sort of trauma where the brain and the emotions can't cope with what's going on. So it just simply blocks it out. So what I'm hoping is we can talk about hopefully bringing back some memories that you might have. And if not, like looking around at those that are in your lives that have children, or you have your own, or you have grandkids. So we're going to just kind of touch into that a little bit. And if you think about our childhood, for most kids that have some semblance of safety or freedom, there is a natural curiosity. When you see a baby, they're very curious. They're exploring their world. Unless there's some immediate trauma, there's usually, they're looking around, they're trying to engage, they're trying to feel things, taste things, smell things. Everything's going in the mouth, right? So, there's that natural curiosity that we all have, and it's there, but I think it kind of gets depleted. We're not necessarily encouraged to be super curious and keep that curiosity and playfulness and learning through play. And when you look at children, they learn through playing games. Like when I think back to my childhood, like the lessons and things I learned, my teacher, Mr. Squire, everyone who went to Cedar Way, in Mount Terrace, Washington. Shout out to Mr. Squire. He was the world's best teacher on the face of the planet. And he, I remember everything about that year because he tied everything to games. Like we learned how to play chess, but there were lessons tied to it. We did games that led to us going to a field trip to go see the Capitol, but we learned about government, but he made it playful. We learned about music and bowling and oh, you name it. He tied all of these things to a playful environment where things really stuck in your mind, and he tied creativity to a lot of what we were doing. So I felt like I got so much out of that school year. And I think we all had great memories of that. We still talk about Mr. Squire all the time. And so I just think about how we slowly tend to go as we go into other grades in middle school and high school and college, like that is not how they foster us learning. It becomes more about sitting in a desk and listening and memorizing and rewriting. That is not creativity and exploring. That's us just learning by having stuff stuffed in our brain, right? So just kind of like, I feel like the joy and the pleasure and the curiosity style of learning just kind of goes out the window, and it becomes harder to absorb everything unless you happen to be learning about something you're super passionate about. And there are some lucky few that just have it in their bones and they know what they're going to be and they just are on that track, and that's great. But I think most of us feel they experience like going through that stage and not really knowing for sure. And we forget what we love. So I like to call it remembering by discovering like retro play. Like, what did we do? What was those retro days like back in the day when there was like literally I just bought a yo-yo. Having my grandkids has brought this new phase where they're getting older. And as my oldest grandson gets a little bit older, I'm like, oh, I used to play this at this age, or the kids did. Like, I wonder if he's going to like it. And so bringing back some of these old school retro kind of toys and things like the yo-yo and some of those little handheld toys and like an etch-a-sketch and just some of the older stuff is fun to bring out. And it reminds me of my childhood. And I want us to take some time and enjoy the activity of remembering what we did when we were kids and we were playing with the neighbor, our friend after school or on the weekends or with our siblings. And I think of the endless hours of gymnastics we did where we would tear apart the entire house, or um, I used my piano bench and I made an office desk, and I like to play office and use duplicate forms that had oh my gosh, I totally forgot. But it like duplicated to the next page and I felt so adult. So I loved playing office and doing paperwork and things like that. Um, but I also like to pretend that I was writing books, and I love drawing, and I wanted to design wedding dresses, and I also wanted to design and decorate houses. So like I had all these things, but I can look back and remember the things that I would spend hours like daydreaming about, or I get lost and not remember the time. And I think that we need to re-embrace some of that. And I'll just tell you a quick story. Um, when I had my kids, I was a fairly young mom, and I felt like I needed to be very grown up, like adult. Like I thought that's what you do. You have kids and you have to be an adult and you're serious and you're just supervising and, making sure everybody's safe and present and hasn't run off. And especially when you have more than one. And I just remember feeling very serious and responsible. And I enjoyed and loved my kids, but we went camping at family camp, and there was one night my sisters were there with their families, and there was one night that we all decided to play hide and seek in the dark. And um, we did that, and I paired up with my sisters, and we had so much fun sneaking around the campground. And it was like, I remembered, like the switch went off in my head. Like I remembered that gleeful, like, this is so much fun. Like it was like my kid came back, and all of a sudden it just kind of like, when I got home, I started seeing things differently. And I think I found myself like having moments where I would like see the kids doing stuff and playing, and I wanted to go join them and kick the ball and run around and be all in with them, just like I was a kid too. It gave me an opportunity to go be in that playful space. And I enjoyed thinking about like, how can we make this adventure you guys are making more fun? There were times where the lawn got torn up and they got to make a mud pit to drive their cars in so that they had a cool spot. And guess what? All the neighbor boys wanted to play there too, and a couple girls. But I think there was just this willingness to hold a space where the boys could just really be kids and play, but I also got a lot of joy from it. And it helped me tap back into that inner child and stay more in touch with it. Because I felt like I kind of lost touch with that, trying to be an adult or a mom or being responsible. So today I wanted to make sure, I need to check my list to make sure I haven't forgotten anything here, but I wanted to just talk about like how, when we're so busy adulting, we sometimes forget to listen, that there's that side of us that's like, come on, like we need to relax or play or take a breath or do something that just makes you laugh uncontrollably till your face hurts. Like, how often do you do that? We need that. Our body needs that release. And so I just wanted to get on here and say, like, don't forget about the other side of the inner child. There's not just the wounding and the healing. Don't forget we need to listen, because my little Erica is constantly like, hey, let's go try this. Or there's maybe some ADD or whatever squirrel shiny things, but also I think I have learned to tune into that, like, oh, I tried painting again this week. I look like, I don't know, I would never display my painting, but it gives me pleasure to do it. So it is what it is. I just do it for me. It's not for anybody else's benefit. And I love playing with the colors. Not going to be making any money off that anytime soon. But anyways, these are stress relievers we need, and we're meant to have that part of ourselves. And one of the tools that I use that I heard, I don't remember who suggested along the way, but I was told to go, I think it was actually Tony Robbins, surprise, surprise. Anyways, I was told we did an exercise where we went back and remembered some of our younger childhood memories. And he encouraged us to go back and try to find a picture of ourselves when we were younger, when there was still that innocent joy, or just a picture where that you're genuinely smiling and happy. And so I found mine, and I keep that in whatever book I'm currently reading. And I try to look at it often, and just like, if I could talk to her, right? Like, would she be happy with how much joy and play and happiness I'm bringing into my life? Or would she be like, why are you so sad? Why are you so serious? Like, why haven't we played today? Like, what's going on? So, I love that. When I was really trying to do some inner child work, on healing wounds as well, having that picture in a space that I saw on 3 or 4 or 5 days a week really like helped me like think, like, am I where I want to be in my life? Is my overall daily life the experience I want to be having? Because I get to do this once and I want to do it right and to my best. And so I really kind of brought clarity to like some tweaks I needed to make and what I needed more of, and like making sure I was making time to hang out with my kids and not think about work at all, like turning off my phone or at least muting my ringer, because those are the things I'm going to remember, not the deal I put together on February 2nd. I'm going to remember that I had an awesome dinner and we played games and we're laughing our asses off together. That's what I'm going to remember. And that's what brings my inner child that joy, right? So it helps us kind of keep on track to, like, when you're towards the end of your life, you're in the sunset, you're not looking back going, what the fuck did I do with all my time? Let's pack it full of moments that our inner child's like, hell yeah, yes, nailed it. And I think when we do that, like, it naturally brings that much joy in our life. That's that powered by joy kind of life we want to live, right? That's what we're seeking here. We're joy seekers. That's what we're going to be. We're joy seekers. So I want to encourage you to listen, and then we'll touch briefly on the fact that, yes, of course, I want you to also be tuned in and listening to your inner child when they're wanting to talk about wounds, or you just feel like maybe you're feeling a little rebellious or it's acting up. Like coach used to say, is your 5-year-old self driving the car, Erica? Like when I would like get in a situation and just react. I think I've talked about this some episodes before, where I'm like, someone just pisses me off and I'm like, and I react quickly. And it's usually tied to something where someone has crossed a boundary from my childhood, that, or, some ongoing thing that I have continued to let people cross a boundary that doesn't feel good. It feels like I'm not standing up for myself or keeping myself feeling safe, or I'm in a situation that I don't feel safe. And my inner child's like screaming, hey, fix this. I'm sick of feeling this way. I'm scared. When we feel those, that's a time to stop and take a pause. We do the ode to the pause. We pause and we say, okay, why am I feeling this intense amount of emotions? And we're going in and asking, and maybe it's like somebody just disrespected you for the third time at work and you need to say something. And so that tension's in you and you're all wound up. And that means it's time. It's time to speak up. And then when you look at your picture the next day, guess who's going to be like, yeah, I feel good today because my adult self stood up for me. And the more we do that, the easier it is to tap into our joy, because our inner child's like, oh yeah, we're safe. They're listening to what we need. We're respecting boundaries, keeping us happy. So if that is something that you feel like you need more work on to deal with the wounds and the healing, I did just put out, I will be just putting out soon a meditation on that, on the inner child and healing some wounds. And so that will be a resource that's available very soon, probably in the next week or two. And then also you can also book a one-on-one with me on my website if you really want to dive deep into how can you work on that inner child and you're just not quite sure how to work through that on your own. I'm happy to help you with that, because that is a conversation I have quite often with people. And I find that the more we invest in kind of listening, then way more joy and opportunity comes to see it, because we've got this foundation of safety and calmness in our lives. When we start stacking all these good habits in our lives, it gives us space to go, oh, look, I could go play or go outside or whatever the thing is that brings us joy. So I'm going to just take a drink here. So the one thing I would say also with the wounding is just that when we do listen and we aren't critical, we're curious, bring the curiosity back instead of the judgment, and we just ask what our inner child needs, then we have the opportunity to show compassion or set the boundary. And that also gives us the opportunity that if there's somebody else involved that's making us feel unhappy, we can try to see them with compassion. Maybe we see them as their inner child acting up, and so we can have compassion and not judgment for them, and some more healing involved. That's a whole nother subject I don't want to get lost in. So we're going to go back here. So I want to talk about the retro play. How can you experience more joy on a regular basis? So I want you to think, while we're sitting here listening, think back. What are things you do now, or when you were a child, when you felt carefree, no responsibilities? What was something that you would be doing that you lost track of time? You just did not know, you didn't care, you're just in it, in your world. You were building a Lego town, building Play-Doh, riding your bike, didn't care about time, and just completely lost track of time until the whistle blew 3 times up the street. And my sisters will get that, and my old neighbor will get that reference. So, and then another one would be, what was an activity or something you would do that you didn't want to stop? It might still happen. Like you might love doing board games and you just don't want it to end. It's so fun. You don't want to stop playing. Feels like Monopoly never ends. That's a good one if you like to play board games for a long time. Okay. Or what would be something that, like, after school, you like ran home to go do? You were just like, yes, I want to get back. Or you ran to go to the place that you did this thing that you loved. What was the thing that you couldn't wait to get your responsibilities or your chores done to go do this thing? What is that? What did you go run back to do as soon as you did have the free time? And another one would be, if you read books or read books, or if you watch TV or movies, like what topic are those books on? What are books that you could just read that same thing over and over again? And same thing, like, is there a theme in your TV or movies? Is there something hidden in there about things that bring you interest, that maybe you would like to spend more time just learning? Maybe you really love World War II history and you love watching those movies, but maybe you give yourself permission to sit and like actually like look for movies about that, or documentaries, or a VR game that gives you that experience. Or maybe you find a museum close by and you give yourself 2-3 hours to just walk through the museum with no distractions, phone off, just letting yourself be totally in it, right? Or another one would be like when you're with your friends, or when you were with your friends when you were younger, or pre-responsibilities besides homework. What was a topic that you love to talk about for hours on end? What is a topic that you don't get tired of talking about? These are all huge hints and clues to things you naturally are probably gifted towards or curious about or will bring you joy and pleasure. These are things that can help you think and remember those things. What are things that you liked to collect? Did you have anything that you had posters of? You collected figurines? You collected stickers? Yeah, I'm that old. I had a sticker book. I'm pretty sure I might still have it stashed somewhere, sadly. Um, like, what did you collect? Maybe it was dolls, maybe it was Matchbox cars, who knew? Maybe it was certain clothes. I loved anything that was like cool pens and pencils and stuff that had sparkles on them. I had a weird affinity for office supplies, and they're all over in my office now. So that has clearly not gone away. Another thing I loved was collecting pictures and magazines of monster trucks. So to this day, I still have car things and motorcycles and monster, all that stuff is still around me. So those are clues. What are things you liked to collect and save or those are things that you surrounded yourself when you were younger. And then try to think of like physical activities that you liked to spend time doing that you might still be able to do or take back up. So that could be like hiking, dancing, riding your bike. I don't think I would safely say I could try skateboarding again unless someone was holding my hand next to me. I did try longboarding a few years back, and my son had ride right next to me, and I just was too terrified to crash. I don't think I'd recover quite the same. I don't know if I'm old enough to break a hip, but I don't want to find out. um, so skateboarding, like painting, Play-Doh, maybe you rode dirt bikes or your bicycle, maybe you went shooting or did archery, or you love to listen to music and like make playlists or remember mixtapes, or maybe it had to do with playing an instrument. Maybe you want to learn to play piano and you played as a kid. How fun would it be to just try to take lessons? Or maybe you go and like book horse riding lessons because you got to do that as a kid and it was super fun. And maybe you don't take it as a permanent hobby, but you just go do it for 6 weeks or something. So there's so many things that I think we don't think of doing. It might be going down to the river or the ocean and collecting and looking for the little crabs, the tiny ones under the rocks or the shells. It could be gold panning. I mean, just you name it. Like there's so much out there in this world for us to experience. And maybe you haven't even tried any of the things I've listed off, but you're intrigued by them. Like I mean, if you need help thinking of these ideas, like you can reach out to me one-on-one. I will jam with you and we will remember and find something for you to go play and do. Like that would be super fun for me personally to help you remember what's going to bring you massive joy. So, well, that all brings us to the homework stage of this episode. And I ask you to get out your notebook or your notepad app on your phone. We call it journaling, but we won't say that word too loud. And I want you to think, and I want you to take 2 to 3 minutes. So if you're driving, please don't be doing this. You might be thinking about it, but I really want you to know that the space where things change and actually happen in your life come from you actually taking action. So you can hear and think about it, but if you don't put it down and like set an intention, it's probably not going to happen. And so you're not going to see change and you're still going to be frustrated and stuck and wondering why you don't have any joy in your life. So this isn't just, hey, try this out. This is do your fucking homework if you want to change your fucking life. Okay. Real talk again. So I want you to set a timer, 2, 3 minutes, and I want you to write down or type it as fast as you can, not overthinking. Write out as many activities, things, hobbies, memories, all those things. I just give you tons of things to help you jog your memory and think of ideas. I give you a ton. So you can rewind. You can hit the back button and listen to think again. But I want you to take 2 to 3 minutes and actually write or type in a list, as many as you can. Like I said, don't overthink it. Just do it. Okay. And then when you're done, I want you to look back over that list and I want you to circle your top 2 or 3 that you would like to experience the soonest and that you feel are most doable the soonest. Okay. And so that's your homework step number one. And then number two, I want you to actually go on to your calendar somewhere and make a date with yourself. And you can have someone join you. This doesn't have to be an alone activity. But if they're going to poo on your parade and not make it fun, don't invite them. This is for you to have joy. This is for your child inside to be happy. So no one that's going to poo on your parade. No fun, please. Okay, so I want you to get out your calendar and I want you to designate at least 15 minutes of doing this thing. If it can be done in that little amount of time, set aside in the whole week. I'm trying to think, I should have come with the math written down for how many minutes are in a week, but let me tell you, there's plenty. If you need 15, that should be doable if you actually make an intentional effort to do that, to schedule in play. If it's not on your calendar, and you haven't set that time aside in your mind, the chances of it happening are like, right? So come on, put it on your calendar. Make a date with yourself as if you were going to the doctor. Just as important. This is just as important. Okay, and your bonus would be, can you make this a weekly practice? Or can you make it a daily practice to do 5 to 15 minutes of something that just feels silly, fun, curious, playful, like discovery? And I talked about this before in other episodes. And if you try something on your list that you haven't done for a long time or you've never done before and you don't enjoy it, so what? No loss. Next. Now you know you don't like doing that. It didn't bring you joy. That's okay. It's not a waste of time. You learn something about yourself. And your inner child's gonna be super happy that you're at least trying to listen to them. So maybe you'll take a breath or two and pause and go, okay, is there something my gut's telling me I actually do want to try next time I sit down to do this? Okay. And then maybe write that down or circle that if you had it written and hadn't circled it. But all of this is just helping you actually make a life that's powered by joy, which is why I think you're probably here listening, because you do want to experience some change in your life. And so these are steps that make a difference. And this is part of that whole quest to change your life and bring more joy into it. If you are interested in finding out more information or plugging in more of the community, I have my website you can jump onto. I'm super excited. I have a new offering of doing a heart mantra reading that's on there and one-on-one coaching available now. And we still have our monthly quest calls. That's like a group activity that's live where you can ask questions and explore ideas and ask what this dream meant, whatever that is. We actually talked about inner child last time and focused a lot on healing wounds. So that was a topic we did touch on. So if you're curious about those things, jump on the website, and all of that information is in my show notes. And there's Instagram too, that you'll find information on what's going on in the community there too. So of course, I'm going to ask that you would share and rate and subscribe and like and all the things too. But I hope that this inspires you to pursue some joy and play a little bit this week and have some fun with your inner child. And maybe find a picture of yourself to kind of put up somewhere you see it all the time. And that way you're remembering, oh yeah, I gotta listen to that one. They know something about me I might not remember. So anyways, I'm so happy you joined me. I hope you have a lovely week ahead, and I will talk to you soon.